bitch. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Tui.
And this is Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. Let's get to it, motherfuckers.
Gingers don't have souls.
Let's go to Busan, baby. Gonna get the train to Busan. Yeah, feeling good in Koreatown. All right, Noel, we're back.
What have you got?
Yeah, we're back for another episode, but we're not back alone.
We're
We
not?
got our good old buddy, Mr. fucking Jukebox Ginger in the house, and he's back for another episode. This is zombie series, and we all know what the one fucking hitches of this zombie series is. The guest picks the movie. So Jukebox, tell the folks who you are, what you do, and what movie you chosen for us to watch, motherfucker.
Well, first off, guys, thanks for having me on. I'm Jukebox Ginger, host of the StarrDumB podcast, and I picked Train to Busan because it's a newish film, and there's so many zombie films that are alike, and there's a lot of similarities with this one, but there's also a lot of differences, and it definitely got me jumping a few times, so that's why I picked it.
Fucking awesome movie. Like, it's like one thing I loved about this movie is that, like, you ever know World War Z with Brad Pitt, in that episode we just did, and the zombies in that are very kind of reminiscent of the zombies in Train to Busan and vice versa. And to me, this felt like I could imagine this was going on before, like while Brad Pitt's trying to flee Philadelphia. To me, it felt like it really fitted into that kind of universe, that kind of world. Like, even when the zombies turn, like the way they contort their bodies and stuff, that kind of reminded me of World War Z. And like, I just thought like the two movies kind of pair well together. So that's why they're going to be releasing on the same day. But
that's so true though. Like, it's very similar. Like, if they were to play next to each other, you'd be like, oh, they're both in the same time zone and everything.
Yeah, you can imagine them being in the same universe. Like, that's what I like about it. Is where, like, if anyone's read the World War Z book, we spoke about it a few times now, that like the stories are very segmented and stuff like that. So, and there's even a story set in Korea where like you can just kind of get these standalone stories and set them apart. And that's what I loved about this, that you could literally have Brad Pitt doing his thing in Philadelphia and he's trying to escape, and at the same time, this is what's going on in Korea. You know what I mean? You could have another thing, or you could have another movie. This is what's going on in India. This is what's going on here. And it's so segmented and it's such a global event that you could have it like pepper the stories around the world. And that's what I loved about Train to Busan. And it literally felt completely singular in its own way, but also to me, it felt like it could slot perfectly into the kind of World War Z universe, you know? No?
Right.
Oh, to me, yeah, absolutely. I thought exactly, because I had the aggressive zombies as well. I had the zombies that will absolutely fuck themselves up just to get to you. And I what I loved is the fact, I know it's a simple thing, I like trains. I love the fact that it was on a train. I love the fact that it's actually a very narrow vessel.
Yes.
That is moving.
Submarine's the scariest for zombies, isn't it?
Just in because a lot of zombie stuff you set up in a mall, and it's basically like desperation, the need for food, betrayal, amongst yourselves. That's kind of the zombie trope. But this one was like, no, action now. Like, you have to do something right now. There is a tin veneer of kind of glass between us and them at any given time. So I just thought it was such an interesting kind of, I don't know, template for them to be. Again, this is a global event, but why not look at how fucked up it would be to be on a train?
Yeah, it's like World War Z. Like, again, remember the plane sequence? You know what I mean? Like, so it just shows you like how you could, like, there's one thing about being fucking chased by a zombie horde. There's another thing being fucking trapped with zombie horde. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, dude. It almost kind of blends to. Did you ever see that show? What's that one where they're all stuck in a train and there's like a global ice?
Snowpiercer.
Yes, like just that alone is scary. So like if you're on a train that's just speeding down and you got these fast ass moving zombies that you're trapped with. I do have to say before we get too into it, like the intro kind of threw me off because they hit that deer. Yeah. And then the deer turns, and I'm like, oh shit, there's gonna be some animal zombies. And then you don't see any the rest of the film.
Yeah, the deer is foreshadowing. That's all it is to show you something's going on. That kind of thing. That's that's the only they do that like nicely in this is like where you pretty much you have the foreshadowing, and then you just kind of go, okay, now here's the person that we're going to focus on, and you almost forget about the deer. You know what I mean? Like, and then by the time they get to the train station, you're hearing little simmerings almost, and then that girl gets on the train, and then after that, it's fucking like 90 miles an hour. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
I love that the one falls onto the train and she's clearly heart infected. You one goes, oh, I'm going to check on her, and now I have to make a call or something. I'm just going to turn around to do it. Just for some reason, I'm going to turn around. You know? I'm just going to turn exactly 180 degrees.
Right.
Who does that? You just like, stay with the person and do what you need to do. It's just like this just feels like a turnaround time. And then she gets bit, and then of course they just fall forward like a horde and that went onwards. But I just thought that was funny.
This were terrifying.
They were I was saying this before you came on, Dylan, and had you ever seen Train to Busan before?
I watched like an hour and 10 minutes of it and then realized it was like 2 hours long. So I stopped at the time, and then I was like, dude, I remember it being really good. That's why I picked this, and I rewatched it last night. So I knew I enjoyed it, but I also knew it was a long film. So
yeah, so something somewhat similar as I watched it and I loved it. But if I had not rewatched this, if I just said, you know what, I'm just going to go in and try and bluff, I would have just said this film is just all action, absolutely crazy, hugely entertaining, all of which is true. But there's a lot of tragedy in this film.
Yeah,
like,
much death.
And it's not like Michael Bay where he's kind of like, it's just stupid, and then he tries to have this like real somber moment. You're like, no. This film, every time they had that somber moment, the sisters, you know, the couple, you know, a couple of big hits, and you're kind of thinking like, God, that's awful. God, that's awful.
Because it does a good job of fleshing out.
There was a story in it as well. It wasn't just a free for all kind of action horror movie. It was a horror movie as well. It was just a horror movie.
Yeah, you know? That suspense and that subtlety when it was building to the event breakout on the train. Like that was so well done. Like the father falls asleep. Like you can imagine, like everybody's gotten off shit early, had to get a shitty train, he doze off. And like imagine if your kid wandered off in that kind of situation, and then like it builds so slowly that the event is happening around it before the people are reacting, and like you expect it to explode, and it kind of just builds very, very nicely and slowly. And then the father wakes up, and after the father wakes up, that's when it kind of starts kicking up a notch, because you know he's the central protagonist, so we're kind of seeing it through his events or through his eyes. And that's what I liked about it, where it's very normal, even though there's a lot of abnormality going on around what's going on. Like it's just like the opening scene is just a guy going to work. It's like then he hits a deer.
Yes.
How many times that guy probably hit a deer 12 times or something, you know, because he just looks like he goes, the deer's dead. My truck's not that damaged. I'm going. You know what I mean?
Heavily populated deer.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I just like that's what I loved about it. It was very normal until it wasn't. Like just people commuting to work, people on a train, this guy going to drop his daughter off to see his ex-wife, planning his day out. I'll be back by lunchtime. You know what I mean? It's just like, but at the same time, we saw that girl getting onto the train. We know shit's about to go down, but the characters don't. And that's what I love about it, that it really holds on to its normalcy for its characters. But at the same time, telling us that shit's going down in the background.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a day. Like, you know, like you get on the train, you're commuting. One guy has a very disappointed daughter. He's let her down and she wants to visit her mother, and he has to respect that. And then there's just the two elderly sisters as a couple. And it is, if you got on a commuter train or subway tomorrow, it's what it would look like. It's just people, just people. Yeah.
They definitely hit like the emotion factor on like all these personalities too. And I love how they do that. And they don't really make it's not really that gory. Yeah, really, you don't see like flesh tearing or anything.
No, like you know, like tearing open the tummy and just pulling out the intestines and all that kind of like stuff you'd see. Yeah, the viscera is actually exactly the word. No, you're right. And I also, but at the same time, you didn't think they were shying away from it. They didn't need
the
story.
Perfect
the story
amount.
Worked.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, they used the like implied gore. Like they used a little bit of gore, but they only used it to heighten sequences, to heighten the terror in the characters, and the same with the audience. But most of it was like implied gore, where it's like they'd get to another carriage and they'd slam the door shut, and the people that didn't make it, you'd see the outline against the door and you'd see them all pushed up, and then you'd see blood splatter, and then you're making out the story in your head, like, you know. And it's just it's very clever, because you feel like after you watch that movie you go, geez, that was kind of gory, but if you watch it again you go, actually it's not. It's a lot of it's implied, a lot of it's like hidden behind a seat, or a lot of it's like you're seeing the person being attacked as you're running away. So you're only seeing in glimpses, like you're just looking over your shoulder and you're gone. You look over again, the person's gone, you know, that kind of thing. And and in the meantime, you filled in the blanks as a viewer, and you're like, oh, that's kind of gory, but like, you know, but it's not. Like, it's clever. Like,
I like that. I like how they have them like that very first car, like where they just kind of start ramping it up, and then they're like towering over each other. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, oh man, when they start fucking pouring over each other like
Yes.
one mass, man, it's really really well done. Like the fact that it goes so quickly from the first time I saw this movie, I heard a lot about it, but I'd never seen it, and I didn't notice. Like I knew it was obviously going to be set on a train to Busan, and it's a zombie movie. That's all I knew about it. And when I was watching, I'm like, it's getting into it nice and slow. It's getting into it nice and slow. And then as soon as the father wakes up and the infection starts breaking out on the train, yeah, man, like when your one's walking down the aisle and the girl's on the back of her neck and she's just like fucking gnawing on her, and then like as soon as she gets off. And the hostess or whatever she'd be called, she turns, and like after that, it's like the whole cart, like that whole carry just turned within like 2 minutes.
Yes.
And then like that, and then as they're running away, you just see the whole fucking horde. Man, I fucking love that shit, man.
There was inconsistency with how. Yes, and when I say how quick they turn, because there was the business dude, the slimy motherfucker, which by the way, I just like.
It's always the thing with zombies. Though,
side note: zombies aren't bad guys. Zombies just simply are. So you do need a bad guy. Yeah. Like you need somebody who's making actually objectively awful decisions that affect people to protect himself or whatever his motive may be. Yeah. And this one had it in spades. Dawn of the Dead had the choke on a guy, the guy who was head of the army, and he just kept fucking everybody over to keep himself alive. But I think this had it as well in spades. But he gets bit near the end of the movie, and then it seems like he's probably bit a while. Yeah. But then there's people who are like people in the carriage.
He gets bit on the way to the train.
It could be a case of you get bit like 9, 10, even 11 times. And obviously you transform really quick because you got literally taken down.
Or like the location of the bite, maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, if it's in your neck or somewhere like that.
I think in zombie movies, this inconsistency has always been a case that you turn as fast as the storyteller needs you to turn. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's just the case. It is like, it's like there are always these inconsistencies in zombie movies. Like Walking Dead does it the whole time, and then you could counteract and say, well, it is a virus, so it hits certain people quicker than others. But for the majority of the film, we were seeing almost instantaneous turning. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
and you never see what started the pandemic, though.
Yeah.
Here's the
you wouldn't though.
You wouldn't unless you were like the president or something like that, and you get like information brought to your desk, or you would just like, or me because I'm smart. But if you were just a dude who was going to work that day, and the shit just happened. True. That's what I love.
If you're looking at it from that mindset, that makes sense. Yeah.
Could you imagine like if you're just on your commute and you're in such an urbanized area, like most of Korean cities are like fucking really heavily populated, you know what I mean? Because it's not a very huge country. That like by the time shit's happening, it's going to be on you the way it was in that movie. You're not like, you're going to figure out answers or ways of dealing with it later on, but the actual event breaking out when you're on that kind of your own personal ground zero is just like, you can't look for answers or understanding in that moment. The only thing you could do is figure out how to survive the actual situation before you can actually figure out how to understand the virus. That's like something we talk about a lot in the zombie movies. Like you have to understand the virus to survive, and like that's later on how to get better at understanding that their vision's based on movement, that they got really poor eyesight and low light, that they react to sound, stuff like that. Like where they had to survive the initial kind of thing before you can actually understand it, and that's what they did pretty well. I thought they understand it organically through kind of almost trial and error, that they were figuring things out as they were happening, not because they were actually figuring things out and making them happen, that kind of thing. Like, because that's the kind of way it would be, that the information that you get would be stuff that you would gather after the event and not before the event. I think
the internet is always this place where we think we go to get our information, but I just remember even just recently when we got recipes, lost Taylor Hawkins, the Foo Fighters drummer, and then you realize that it doesn't predict the future. It's not like you can go on there and find out retroactively what happened. That information is simply not there yet. And we're just so used to using it as this thing where we could just go and find out who starred in that movie. What was the name of this thing? What's the capital of this place? Of course, that's there. But I also feel like sometimes if something happens and it's so forward thinking, as in like we don't know. The only information that goes up there is something that somebody has sat down and actually processed and put there. And I always think that if something happens too fast, it would still wipe us out. And I do think that there's that naivety that we all have, that we could just like go and find stuff out at any given time because we are spoiled, you know, as opposed to like the way sometimes things are. And I remember just like being, you know, like being a Foo Fighters fan, I remember being quite hurt by that, and I wanted to find out what was going on. But then you realize it's simply just a case of it's in process, and you don't know because nobody knows. That's all there was to that. And I remember just kind of getting that reminder in that moment that this is literally happening in real time, as opposed to something that I can just go and look up. So yeah, I do think there's
it's all about how the information is disseminated, isn't it? How it goes through the population. Like, you know, there's like how quick can you find out something that we've called back to because we just literally lived through it as the pandemic. Like the information that we found out, like was probably about 15% of actually all the information that's attached to that virus. You know what I mean? Like, you know, as me and you and Noah, like just normal dudes, like people, I'm sure there's people in powerful places that know far more information about where it was found, how it broke out, and all these kind of different things. All the information that all we can do is kind of guess at. And like that's what I love about these zombie movies, that like 9 times out of 10 they're giving us the perspective is given to us from a normal person on a normal day, and something horrifically abnormal occurs and they have to survive the events, try to understand all these kind of things. And that's what I like about the information. It's so hard to get information nowadays. Like, even though it's like the internet and stuff, we can get information, but like most of the information we get is manicured. You know what I mean? Like it's either manicured or it's distorted depending on people's agendas now.
You got to think about it. Like, for example, this kid at my work got ran over by a car, right? A couple of days ago.
Got ran over by a person driving a car.
In the parking lot. And I was working inside. I never saw it. But by time I heard the actual story, I heard about 7 different renditions of what happened. Yeah, and it turned out like it was, he got Chinese ran over. Whispers. They had to back off of him, and then but the real story was, his foot got ran over. You know,
wait, in the end, his foot. Oh my god!
Just his foot.
Yeah, you know, like it's like they're like the time a while back in my hometown. I don't live there, but Noel lives there now. That a guy got attacked, and there was like 15, 20 different versions of that story before the truth actually came out. Like,
and the story was plenty salacious.
Yeah,
he tried to break up a fight. He's actually somebody who is suffering with cancer who tried to break up a fight, and he got slashed in the face with a goddamn knife. And there's really video of him bleeding. Like, it's plenty salacious. Like, it's not like you needed to add tears to it. It's tragic. It's awful. It's a terrible, terrible, violent event. But it just. The Chinese Whispers was like, and I heard there was like 5 of them. There was one.
Yeah, a guy got killed, and 2 guys got killed, one guy got killed. And like by the time the truth came out, it's a completely different story. That's just the way it is. Like that's the way information is disseminated is one thing, but who is giving out that information?
I just picture Tucker Carlson just kind of going, and is being a zombie so bad? Yeah. We're just asking questions.
They're still your friends. They're still your family. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So unlock the basement. Let them out.
It's like,
don't get bit. Just don't get bit. It's fine.
Yeah. Why are they telling you?
Walking Dead or cheap labor. We'll find out.
Now you're getting like Fido vibes over here.
Yeah. But there is. I always like something that gets the blood kind of pumping in a horror movie. I always think like horror is a few different things to me. I said it to Vinny and ad nauseum is that it's a very safe way to be uncomfortable. Just like and I think that this is an excellent example of that. But this didn't have the discomfort of like somebody opens the medicine cabinet and is washing their face, and they close the medicine cabinet and there's somebody standing in the shower, that kind of thing. Right. No, this was very in your face. It wasn't subtle. But at the same time, there was, because he actually cared about the characters. I actually cared what happened to that little girl. I cared what happened to the father who was trying to protect her. There was like,
she's way better a fake crying than her father's.
I was nervous for them. So you forget that this isn't just a Fast and Furious 25 film. It's not. It's a real film.
The characters are almost sort of predictable, but not in a bad way. Like the bad business dude. Like, I expected him to die, but I knew he was going to be one of the big characters throughout most of the film.
Yeah,
I can't think off the top of my head like Joffrey or something. I mean, he was scumbag to the absolute god tier, like god tier scumbag.
Yeah, man. It's just sorry,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say he's just kind of.
Oh my god! The 2 of you just need to kiss or something.
Yeah, we're just here, Dylan. We're just here.
I think if we didn't have the video, it'd be even worse.
Yeah, we just share a mind. It's just who we are. Yeah, whatever.
No, like for me, it's like. From the get-go, when he's kind of attacking the good guy, the dad, you know, you're just like, he needs to die. I don't like him. Like, you just have that emotional attachment to that
And
character
you wanted
right
it
off the
straight
bat.
away. Yeah, absolutely. You did. Because especially a failing that is just the fact that it's not he's underwhelming. It's not that he didn't care. He's a guy who's not batting. He's just not at the races. And you can tell that, but at the same time, he's a sympathetic character. He's human.
Right.
And I do. It just there's this moment where you just see somebody who's not perfect, but they do care and they do feel, and they implanted that. And then great, because the zombies are the zombies, like I said, but just when you planted them against that seedy motherfucker, I was like, oh my God. But that's done well. I mean, that actor, like, I mean, if I met that actor, I would have to shake his hand to stop myself from punching him in the face.
It's like, dude, you watched too much Train to Busan. I'm fine.
Like, where's that man's Oscar? Because an actor should make you believe and should make you feel, and that guy did both. Because I believed he was a scumbag, and I felt he should die horrendously. Like,
it was really well done though, because like the one time, like you're like, oh no, get away from the zombies! The zombies are these horrible monsters. And the other time, you're like, I just want him to die. As long as he dies, like it's like that's the really good acting. Like it's like he's a really good villain, because like the whole way through, you're like, the zombies are horrific monsters, but as long as that dude dies, you know what I mean? Like
the zombies are soulless, you know, like Dylan. He
can never be a pirate, man. It's not his fault.
Oh man, I would love to be a pirate. That'd be awesome.
You'd make a good pirate, man. But they're not the bad guys. You know, it's like you know, if you see a scene and there's just somebody being hunted by dogs or hunted by wolves or something like that, and you're just kind of thinking like, what you are is in an incredibly unfortunate situation.
Yes,
that's all it is. You're out in the wild.
You wouldn't help them. You're like, I see a guy getting hunted down by wolves.
He is in a very unfortunate situation.
And he just like rolls up the window. His things are quite annoying.
Hey, dude, can you keep it down? I'm trying to listen to my radio.
Oh, nature, isn't it grand? And he just like starts up the ignition and drives away.
But
that's, you know, zombies, they do fall into that. They're not evil. Like, they weren't
honestly
evil. They were your friends like 5 minutes ago.
If I was to be placed on that train in that situation, I feel like I would honestly be hiding behind the dude and the pregnant couple, the guy.
Giglamesh.
He's the badass. Like, he's that badass in the film.
Oh,
like,
he's 100% the badass.
Yeah.
And you know, and of course his death is so tragic because they just didn't let them back in. Because, and I love that this is where the actual storyline is. People are shitty when they're afraid. People are shitty anyway, but when people get afraid, they can be super shitty. And each and every one of us placed in the actual right scenario could be really shitty.
Yeah. Oh, I'd already said before that I would sacrifice you.
Yeah, well, I know. Like, I mean, if I'm after doing something like heroic, and you're just kind of like there with your daughter, and
I know, like, I would like literally push you into the horde immediately, even if I was there by myself. I mean, even if both of us could escape, I'm just like, just in case.
If I was with my loved ones, my wife, my kids, that would literally be the people I cared about. The rest of you would be like, I'd use you to my advantage.
I'd be just like with Vinny, and we're absolutely escaping, and I realized there's just one ham and cheese sandwich, and I really want it. And I don't want to have to share it, because I'm only going to be hungry again in an hour. And I'm just like Vinny, just like falling outside of the train. What happened to Vinny? He didn't make it. It's just me with a sandwich. Awful.
Zombie horde.
Well, and not to get stray away from this film, but like in Walking Dead, when Shane shoots that dude in the leg just so he can get away. And then he changes the story. You know, he's like, no, that's someone. They're like, no, that would have been Otis. You know?
Yeah. And like, come on, why would you send Otis? Even if he knew what the stuff looks like, I'm like, dude, I'm trying to escape. I'm going to do it by myself, and your life decisions are catching up with you right now. Like, you know what I mean? If anybody is over like 25 stone weight and they're not like 6'6" and they're carrying it poorly, we're getting hunted by a zombie horde. I'm going to push them over and I'm going to run away. It's like, they're going to be eating you for a while, fella.
But that's what good zombie horror movies are. It's how tenuous civility is.
Right.
How tenuous society is.
Yeah.
Well,
and primal savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. and I like how in like Busan, the reality of the situation is that there's not a lot of weapons to grab. Notice that there's not many weapons. There's the baseball kid with a bat.
Yeah.
And
You're
the
on a
rest of them are
train,
using-
man. You're
Yeah,
on a
exactly.
train. You know, you're just going to work.
And
Yes.
they do that. They definitely touch on that. They don't, there's not these random ass guns everywhere or axes or, it's just them and their surrounding area. That's it.
Yeah, like that's like one thing they did really well was like the confines of the train and the fact that they had no weapons and shit. But like when they had to get off the train and try to get back on it a couple of occasions, where like they got Daejeon station or some shit like that, where they get
Yes.
off and the loads of people. Man, the stairs, isn't the stairs the worst place to be caught when you're getting attacked by a zombie horde? Oh my god, that scene was terrifying.
And they're on the escalator going down. So even if they were to run up,
Yeah.
they're going slow.
Oh man, it's a bitch, man. Like that's like straight away. Remember the dude, the pregnant woman, he just like threw her onto the next one. It's just like,
Yes.
man, it's the only thing you do, man. Like if I'm going up the stairs and anyone's below me and they're not my loved ones, zombie hordes coming after me, they're getting pushed down the stairs. All I'm saying, and I'm gonna just put it out there. I'm warning people so they avoid me in these situations. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because like a zombie horde's coming after me. I don't know you. You're a couple of steps behind me. I'm running up some downward going escalators. We're
Yeah.
like, come on, we're like the situation's completely against me. I'm kicking some motherfuckers down those stairs. Is all I'm saying. How
Yeah.
about you, Dylan?
Right.
Dylan.
No, yes, I definitely would be, man. When they're going down the escalator, you just see like that horde of them, the military zombies just down there. I'm like, well, fuck, time to turn around. It wouldn't even be a hesitation. I'd just be done. I wouldn't even be telling people. I would just turn around and go.
Yeah.
At least sneak out the back.
Yeah, like, I could imagine you like get your wife. She's like, I'm wearing you as a backpack till I make you back to that train. Just like throw her on your fucking
I'd be like,
kid under one arm, like gone.
I'd be like, come on, we just have to run up these stairs and then we're just at freedom. And I'd be like, I'm already dead.
Let's go back to the train that has several carts full
Stairs?
of these things.
Yeah, I'm just like, stairs?
Oh man, like if I was in that situation after seeing this movie, I'm just going to stand at the top of the stairs and just see how it plays out. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is, man, you get me on a downward going escalator. I'm running up it. People coming behind me, they're getting kicked. Right? Not only they're getting kicked, right? Like if Noel's there, I'm not even going to get on the stairs. I'm just going to throw him down, bowl and ball it. I think that's the best way to get down the stairs.
If you're in a zombie apocalypse,
Yeah.
would you even bother? I wouldn't even get on an escalator to begin with if I don't know what's down there.
Oh man,
I'm not gonna get on a trapped. You're trapped with a group of people,
Yeah, I'm staying on the train. I was already safe on the train.
right?
Safe-ish. Yeah, it's all relative.
Well, and honestly, did I don't know how the subsystem works there. I know like regular train cars, like carrying stuff, you can detach,
Yeah,
like the carriages. So
you have to
I didn't
turn around
know.
though.
Do I?
Yeah. No. You could you could detach a carriage,
Yeah,
not about turning around.
you wouldn't have to turn around when you don't know.
No.
No. So trains face other directions, don't they?
Yeah.
So they can.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, that's it. You can, or sometimes you don't have a whatever you would call the conductor pit.
it's caboose.
You could just back one up into the other side and take it the other way, but it doesn't always necessarily have a conductor pit on either side.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's the thing about train. I mean, again, I go back to the point. I thought Train was an excellent setting for a movie like this.
Yes.
Such an excellent setting. It had that. I don't know. It had that it had that assault on precinct 13 times 10. So assault on precinct 130.
You really labored for the answer there. Didn't
I
you?
did.
Yeah.
You all loved it. You're both sluts. But I do. I thought that it was just such an incredibly high octane. Again, you know, when you get up at the station, like we were talking about, and everybody goes to shit, and you're like, somehow this is worse than the train.
I would rather be back in the train.
To my surprise, I admit that this is actually worse than the train.
And like on the news when they're in the train, and this plays into where we're at now, but like, and they see the helicopters with them falling off of it into the parking lots and then like getting up and going after people. And I'm like, oh shit, they're falling out of the sky. And then like they see the horde of zombies and they're going back. Well, then they're breaking through glasses and falling out of the building on top of the train. Like it's just a mass just zombies everywhere. You're fucked kind of situation, you know?
Do you remember when the poor bastard, he finally gets the door locked and then they smash through the glass?
Literally, he's struggling. And then as soon as you just start hearing it crack, like immediately.
like literally bought him no time. After all that struggle, bought him no time. Like, you know, like if
desperate. That, you know, when things don't. I love when stuff feels right. Sometimes like it feels like something goes wrong, and then something goes right, and then something goes wrong, and it feels storied and catered. But you know, when something just kind of goes wrong mid-scene, mid-sentence, I love that. You know, I mean, the jokey but one thing that comes to my mind is Deep Blue Sea when Samuel L. Jackson. But as silly as it was just kind of against the grade. You feel like, okay, we're in the middle of a scene now, and the next scene is going to be the action scene, and the next scene is going to be and then in the middle of the scene, something crazy happens. You're kind of going, wow, actually that injected something. And this film did that a lot. Like, again, when they fall through the roof and it all kind of collapses and stuff like that. I thought you didn't know what was going to happen. And that, again, horror is a comfortable way to feel uncomfortable. Again, that uncomfortableness was there throughout, and I just thought, like, that's a killer.
100%. Like, no matter what situation you're in, if there's zombies, you're pretty much fucked unless it's dark.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. The thing about zombies is relentlessness. So when you're sitting there trying to, like, what it takes to keep us entertained or even just sane is so high, but they don't have that. They're just going to keep going. Going and keep going, and that's what's so terrifying. It's the numbers and the relentlessness. And this, but you're on a train, so it's not like you're kind of going, it's a good thing I brought, like, you know, a huge suitcase full of tin fucking food with me, and a rifle, and you know, it's just to work at my rifle and tin food store.
Right. I like the idea though you want to come up with, you know, the kind of simplistic solutions to do a lot in this movie. It's like when they're trying to get away from the zombies and they figure, like, your man's like, oh, he can't work the door, and then like he just lets go of the door, and then your woman's like, oh, if they only came after us after they saw us. And like immediately, like the water and the newspaper, like, you know, it's really, really simplistic, the solutions to come up with, but they're all kind of realistic in such an unrealistic environment. It makes sense, like, you know,
and stuff you can come up with on the fly.
On a train.
Because it's not like you need to, like, here's the schematics for the train, and here's you know,
my wife even pointed that out because she's watching it. She goes, "That was really smart with the newspaper in the water."
Yeah, it's clever though, wasn't it? Like, you know what I mean, like. And it's really easy to like, later on to use a fire extinguisher, like, you know what I mean, and like it's just stuff that's available there. Like I just thought there's a lot of thought put into that stuff that everyday people have a knowledge of. It's not like one character is just like, oh yeah, I happen to work on trains. I had a 45-year stellar career and I just happened to retire recently. So what I'm going to show you is the internal structure of each carriage, and I'm going to show you like they didn't try to be overcomplicated or just high concept. It's like, okay, how can everyday people figure out solutions that would be on a train, and how would they use that to the benefit of their survival? And it's just so fucking well done. It's just like they use like one guy uses like Wavin belts, like wraps on his hands so he can, like, you know, block a bite, and another guy uses his jacket and he tapes it up. Another guy like gets magazines or some shit, like stuff, like it's just very clever, like, you know, except why would you take off your jacket? I'm going to tell anybody, if a zombie's coming after you, put on more clothes. Don't put, you know what I mean? Why do people always like, oh, I'm in a t-shirt? You see my muscles?
Layers.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's funny you said that. I seen and this is so off topic, but you just kind of made me laugh and remember I remember there was a sheep farmer who said he found a sheep that he had lost a couple of years ago, but because his wool had never been cut, all of the wolves and stuff, he had scars and stuff like that. But the fucker was alive.
I remember that.
There was just nothing to get at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the sheep just like goes, sucks his legs.
I remember that
throat. You couldn't get his belly, and he's like hard-headed enough that he could give himself a bit of a fight. And I just remember thinking, like, yeah, you're right. Like, just fucking, like, they're not smart.
Well, at some point, you know, those wolves in the area are probably like, no, fucking don't even bother.
Exactly. You know what? Exactly. They do just kind of go, this cost. In fact, I'm more hungry now because I've been trying to take out this fucker, and now I'm you know, and now I'm fucking tired. You know,
yeah, they say predators do that in the wild, that they do this kind of cost benefit analysis right before they hunt something, that they can work out in their head how much energy they will expend. And how much they'll actually get. So they like that's.
Well, I mean, look, they haven't eaten in a week, like literally a full week.
Yeah.
So they know that whatever it is they do, it needs to be worth it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because like if I don't catch it, like they could die from not actually catching it from the hunt itself, and that's why you'll see wolves and shit that won't go near a small game a lot of the times unless they're really desperate. That they'll wait till they get something substantial, like you know what I mean. It's like, but like that's a cool thing about the wild and shit. Like, but like in this, when you figure out that the bite is the way that they fucking transport the disease or spread on the disease. Like the first thing you'd be doing is like, how do I protect myself from being bitten? And nobody seemed to really do that to any kind of effect in this fucking movie. Like, you know what I mean? The guy actually was on a baseball team, and he takes out a bag of equipment, and he doesn't get baseball mitts.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
point.
Like, you know,
Yes.
the first thing I'd be getting is like a mitt from one hand and have a bat in the other, and then I'd have a magazine taped where it's covering 90% of my hand, everything except for my fingers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that really always annoyed me about The Walking Dead. It's like, yeah, I get it's hot. Why are you going around in like a sleeveless leather waistcoat, Darren? For the entire, like, seriously, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be straight away, I'd be getting anything that's made out of leather, anything that's made out of denim, and I'll be putting it on me because like the survive, everybody knows, like, if you're seeing someone getting bit in the turn, you go, okay, the bite is out of doing it, so I'll make sure I don't get bit. And like he's little, like your one's going around like a little skirt, like the whole way through it. It's like, of course you're going to die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, put on a pair of pants, you fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they really don't tread it. Like he picks up that shield at one point, in the film, but there's not a whole lot of like, oh, I should guard myself.
Yeah, put on a coat, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's plenty of people there that have plenty of luggage. I'm like, you know, I never understood that.
But see, I think there's one thing to point out here, and that's like in American films, like Americans are always like fed the fear of dying, you know, like we're supposed to fear death.
Yeah.
But then you go over to these other countries and they actually celebrate, you know, their ancestors and stuff. They don't fear death. So I think that might kind of play into this where they're not worried about that. They're just worried about getting away.
Yeah. But man, I'm telling you, you start trying to eat me, I'm gonna be putting on layers. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
Canadian tuxedo, I'll be all denim. You know what I mean? Like 100%.
Right.
It's like I never understood that. Like the guy Milton in The Walking Dead, he had the right idea. It was like a dog tack suit. Remember, he wore that thing to protect himself from bites. That's genius, man. You know what I mean? Like leather makes perfect sense to me, I think, because it's hard to bite you leather. Like, you know, I've tried.
It tastes really good, actually.
All right, no, I was caught offshore, right? Quick story, right? Pretty much, I was the only one to survive because I was the one that ate the leather, and they all died. Pretty much what happened.
Oh yeah, let's keep it simple. I respect that.
That's how I roll. You know, there was cannibalism after they died. I was the only survivor. I don't know who did the cannibalism, but I was the only survivor. So let's just put it that way.
I'd walk around in a latex dog suit.
S&M suit.
Yeah, S&M.
Yeah, man, that'd be a good idea though. Anything that's pure leather, anything like is latex strong though. Like, you know, imagine that. It's just like the zombies, just like looking at, just like, what the fuck?
You just look over there, just like gnawing on your arm. You just don't give a shit.
And then just like come out with one of them whips.
Everybody's like, run! No, man, I do this every night.
Yeah, just like you're like, work out the knot on my back. Yeah, just work. Oh man, that'd be fucking awesome.
Let me ask you. Sorry, Dylan, you were going to say something.
No,
all right,
do it, man.
I was going to say. So you didn't like, it was an hour and 10 minutes or something. You met into it the last time. It was a long movie or whatever. And you weren't feeling it. Did you feel like, well, that's on me because this is actually a pretty killer movie?
100%. 100%. And actually, the second time I watched it, do you know what Redbox is?
I heard of it, yeah.
Okay, well, it's you can rent movies on it. It's just now it's an app, kind of like Netflix and stuff. Well, if you watch it free, there's a lot of ads.
Yeah,
a lot of ads. And this was a free one on Redbox, and they kept doing the same ads. So like the zombies would be getting ready to attack, and then it'd cut to a scene of people like eating pizza. Like literally the whole film. I think there was probably 10 sets of commercials in that hour and 20 minutes. Like it was stupid. But I was like, I bared through it because it was a good film, man. Like it's a great movie. It keeps you going. The only reason why I cut out the last time was because it was like 3 a.m. and I had to work the next day.
Boo work.
Boo work.
I was like, how much more time is there? There's like another 45 minutes. I was like, nah, man, I gotta get up in 4 hours. I can't.
I get off the next stop.
But there is,
But no, you're
our
right.
attention span is small sometimes, isn't it? You know.
Yes.
Especially when you're tired, man. If you're
Oh,
tired,
yeah.
man, seriously. So many good
It's
intentions.
hard to enjoy something when you're tired too.
Yeah. It just
Or
takes
if
away
you-
from it.
Especially something that you even like, it's something you enjoy. Sometimes if it's a crappy movie, you'll actually sit through it because you'll kind of doze or daydream.
Yeah.
But when you're watching something, you kind of
Like a conversation with Noel.
Thank you. It's like,
Sorry,
but
what
it's
was
like,
that?
but it's like something that feels like it's worth your time, and in a way, it's a like a backhanded compliment to actually kind of turn it off and just kind of say,
Yes.
if I'm going to watch it, I'm going to watch it. But I'm not there. I'm not
Yeah.
there right now.
Well, and for example, last Halloween, there's a lot of like haunted houses around here and haunted forest attractions. And we were at one, it was like a 2-mile haunted forest, and literally the whole time I had to pee. There's no portal potties or nothing, and like there's people watching. You can't just step to the side and piss because there's too many people. I couldn't enjoy the scare because I was so focused on, man, I really gotta go pee.
You're
So similar to being super tired, similar to being tired, you're distracted. You can't really enjoy the film.
Yeah, man, I kind of had that when I went to see The Return of the King, Lord of the Rings in cinema. The last 15 minutes of that movie, I was busting the gut for a piss, man. And I was just like, please end. Fuck's sake, Peter Jackson, how many endings?
And you don't want to step away because like this is so good. You know?
Yeah, because I knew it was the end of the movie.
Nobody's pausing it for you.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Oh, it's the worst. And you're just like that. You're looking at the leader one, and you're just like, should I? Should I? And I was like, maybe not. Decent exposure. Kind of
But no, it was it was definitely a well written and well played film, like all the way through, 100%.
Yeah, man, the pacing of the movie is fucking excellent. Like it's like,
Yes.
like they do have some lulls, but you don't really feel them too badly because they use
They care about the characters. So even if it lulls, it's not like no more zombies. You actually like, shit, are they okay?
Yeah.
Because that was huge. That scene that we just got through was huge.
They use the lulls to build tension as well. Like, you know, that's, you know what I mean? Because when the lulls are happening, that you're finding out information on the screens of the TV or the people on the news reports and shit like that, like literally you're getting a better understanding of the events, but like at the same time, like it's building tension because you know the shit's getting out of hand and it's only a matter of time before you're in the thick of it again. Like, you know what I mean? And like it's all about relative safety, the whole entire movie. Like, you know what I mean? That like you go from danger to danger, but you're hoping that the dangerous situation you're in is just slightly less dangerous than the one you were in. It's like you said earlier on, Noel, it's like you never thought the chair would be safer. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when you're running away from the stairs, like, you know, like you think a train's confined when you're caught on a flight of fucking escalators. You know what I mean? Like,
I think one person that you really got to give props to that you don't see a whole lot is the conductor himself.
Yeah.
Because he's such a great guy. Like, okay, what should I do? He's like willing to help as much as he can. He's not like, no, this is what they're telling me to do. I'm only doing this. Once you meet him, like in that train station in Dijon or whatever, you're like, okay, he's a cool dude. He's trying to help them. You know, and you really don't see him a lot.
Yeah. It's actually even without building the character too much. If the first you're introduced to them in a crisis situation and they do the right thing, that is worth so much exposition. Yeah. So I don't know what his marriage status is. I don't know if he has kids. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't need to. All I know is that it was a crisis moment, and this was the thing that he was told, and this is the thing he's going to do, blah blah blah. But the thing is, he was doing the thing that I'm just trying to help people. I'm whatever badness is going on is not going to be on me, and that is an incredible way to make you care about a film. A character quite quickly, and despite the fact this is 2 hours long, it's so action packed. Yeah, that they can't really delve too much. Again, like the two sisters. Yeah, it was just very obvious, just the way they were dressed and the way they were with each other, that they were incredibly close. And straight away, your brain started filling in this exposition that they didn't really have time to bog it down with, and it would have bogged down the story. We didn't need it. And you know, it's a huge pivotal moment as well there in the film when the sister gets bit and your one opens the carriage. But it's just fast and it's clever. This film was clever.
There's the only part of that I didn't really enjoy was the sister when she's looking at her through the glass and her sister's surrounded by the zombies and her sister's one. But she's just kind of like looking off in the distance all slow and shit. And you're like, no, man, that's not what the rest of the zombies are doing.
Yeah,
He should be on that screen trying to attack her sister.
yeah, and your one opens the door and like
Yes.
massacres everybody. Like harsh.
That's the only thing. Like I loved how they kind of portrayed it, but that one particular thing where they just kind of showed the sister like all slow-mo, that just didn't play into the zombie character in the film.
Yeah, they were just trying to get hit for a dramatic beat, wasn't it?
Yes, which is fine, but they could have done it a different way. Maybe she opens the door and her sister's one who eats her or something, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Why did she open the door?
I think she's missing her sister so much, but she's also very disgusted with what just went on in the carriage. Is where like they get back and it's that scumbag in the suit's fault that we lost Gilgamesh, and they get thrown into another carriage, and one's like, well, the only person I care about is my sister. They obviously felt like very insular women, where they're probably didn't have much family.
Did you say they're banging each other, dude?
I said insular. I did not say
I thought you said incestuous. Sorry.
Insular lesbians.
For some reason,
through those.
For some reason, I'm getting
something dirty.
I'm getting hungry right now. I don't know why.
But I think that she was she was with Berman. She was with scum, really bad people, and the only person she cared about was her sister. And maybe this is better. Maybe this is better. Like maybe the world needs these people very little, and maybe I need the world very little. So I actually thought it was kind of.
Do you think she was looking at her sister and she's like, look at her, she's so much energy now. She's got a lot of drive. Look how vital
her
she is.
sciatica is gone.
Right. You know what I mean? That could be me too, you know?
The scene, so when they're like talking to each other on the phone, the baseball guy and the girl in the skirt, and she's like, oh, they're heading to us. And then that douchebag goes, oh, well, we're not letting them in. And then they get to the door and all like that swarm of zombies is coming. They're not letting him in. They're like the shit tied off and stuff. You're like, come the fuck. Like you actually like me and everybody that was watching it with me was like so into it. They were like, what the fuck? Like so pissed off at this guy.
Yeah.
You know? Like they did it so well.
Carriage 15. They had to make it from carriage 9 to carriage 15 or some shit. That was one of the best parts of the whole movie though. Austin was like trying to sneak through up in the fucking the baggage area and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was really, really well done though, because they so little to work with to build the tension on a train that one of the best ways to do was segmenting the carriages. And then they have that fucking douchebag then at the end fucking caused it like he caused Gilgamesh to die. Like it's like that's the whole way through it though. Like you just want anyone to survive that was not him. You know what I mean? Like he's such an asshole, man.
Yeah. He was, but he was a supremely good actor, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was. Like he did his job extremely well.
Well, you see, there's two main characters, and it's the father and that douchebag, and they both make it to the end, to the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. Man, I just thought it's like when he's on that train at the end, that like when the dude comes out, I'm just like, push him over the edge. Why are you making such a big deal about it? Like, just push him over the edge. Like, there's huge gaps all along the edge of the train. I'd be like, oh, all right, the dude's mostly blind. I'm just going to push him onto his back, and then I'm just going to kick him off the side of the train. Like, you know what I mean? Or even just let him come at you and then just sidestep him. He's a mindless zombie. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay. So can we backtrack for a minute where they're getting back on the train and they're they get into the different train and they're taking off and the zombies are piling up and and one of them's like grabbing on to the train.
That's fucking awesome.
That was whoever the director, whatever, that was intense. Like you don't see that in other films.
The chain of zombies where they're kind of climbing up along each other.
Yes.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying.
And then that one is like fucking, I don't know, like just climbing up them and like super fast speed and then jumps at him.
Yeah, man. Like that's what it reminded me of World War Z at times like that, because in World War Z they had that kind of hive mentality where it's like we just throw wave and wave and wave as long as the infection can get after you. It's not more like they're not even thinking about themselves. It's almost like we create this body so one part of the infection can try to get on the train. It's always about the infection trying to spread itself. And that's why to me, at times it did remind me of World War Z because of this kind of ferocious nature of the zombies where they were just always about, it was nearly less about their need to feed, but just more about their need to spread the infection, that kind of thing. Right. And that's what I fucking loved about it, where they just throw themselves at the back of that carriage at the end where they're just literally climbing up along each other. Like, you know what I mean? It's just fucking very well done.
Agreed. No, what do you think?
It was, oh yeah, I just thought it was. I always thought that I never really. Again, what I was saying earlier, I didn't really know what was going to happen next, but I always thought that the zombies were going to have a huge say. So, despite not actually representing much in the way of character, you're a character. But I also thought that they were. I don't know. I always say, do you know when you used to play old games on the Sega Genesis or whatever, and it used to be like they were more basic, but there used to be like a time component, and they used to really, really make me uncomfortable. Me and Vinny had a conversation with this before, and I always felt like whatever it is you're doing, like you're coming up with a plan, and fair enough, you're in a carriage, and you only have X amount of minutes before all of this goes to shit at any given time. And I thought that was such a great template for a movie. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's not like you're on the top of a building and a mall and you've set up all sorts of barricades and you've fortified. You're not. You have no safety. You have a tiny respite where you can take a couple of deep breaths and then you have to keep going. So I just thought that was such a fucking excellent component of the movie.
When they're trapped between the two trains that are like piled in on each other, that scene that was so dramatic. Like on both sides, like you see through the side of the train, these zombies just like ready to come at you. Man, and then the homeless character, like you're like, okay, he's there. Well, and then they like make him the hero in the situation. You're like, that's pretty badass.
Man, I love the way they pour out. Remember when they break the window? They kind of just fucking pour out that train like water almost, man. Like just the immensity of it. It's just like that's how they get you. Like it's just they pile on you. Like you know what I mean? It's just fucking awesome. Like one thing that annoyed me though, do you know when they do get away from them and they make it onto the train when they're trying to get out of there, the last kind of locomotive. Like immediately after that dude attacks him, he turns the dude into the one thing you don't do is if you're protecting your loved one or your daughter or something from someone that's trying to attack them, make sure you stay in between the two of them. It's the first thing he does is turn him around in the way that he's in. Like, I'm like, okay, dude, it's a narrow space. Yes. All you have to do is stand your fucking ground. Yes. That really ain't fuck out of me, man.
Like if that badass dude was still alive, he would have just grabbed the fucker and thrown him off.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Remember when he grabs the zombie and he kind of holds him sideways and he literally holds all the other zombies back with him.
Yes, with a zombie.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like seriously, like I just thought like at the end, like it was so good at building drama that the last few minutes there was a lot of kind of stupid decisions made that kind of seemed like there was out of character for some of the characters that were in it. You know what I mean? When
he sees the douchebag. I don't know his name. That's why I'm calling him douchebag. He's sitting in the conductor chair when he opens the door, and he gets up and he's like coming out. He's clearly infected because he's like talking to him. Like this is the perfect opportunity for you to just grab this dude and get rid of him. Like there's literally why are you letting him talk?
Yeah, even Dylan, I'd even say that there's so much cause for him, even if he wasn't infected, to kill him anyway. You know what I mean? Like literally just seeing that dude, the minute you see him, you should be throwing him off the train.
Yes.
Like, like immediately, whether he's infected or not. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
no hesitation.
I would have been like, where do you work? He goes, I work in advertising. Worse than the zombies, straight away, just off the train. Yeah. I'd be like that, just like on a normal, very peaceful day. Oh, sorry, what you do? Advertising in front of the train. You know, just like right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I just don't understand like the decisions at the end, because like that dude could easily have survived if he'd have made like any good decisions in the climax of the movie. Like, you know what I mean?
There is a thing where there was like, despite the fact that he was quite flawed as a dad, there was a thing where he wasn't actually all that flawed as a human being ultimately. Right. Where there was these kind of brutal choices that he could have made. Like, I mean,
his company caused the outbreak, didn't it?
Yeah, his company caused the outbreak. But like a pregnant woman, for example, would not be the greatest thing to bring along. It wouldn't ensure your survival, because obviously she's in a state where she's being pregnant is quite taxing. So you would think that. Well, no, I'll go with the big Gilgamesh dude and more Gilgamesh fucking dudes. But he was actually trying to do the right thing ultimately. He's just a bit of a fuck up in his personal life.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's like one of these films where you're like, yeah, if you were like, look at again, like a scumbag suit guy, he almost made it to the very end by being a scumbag.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was the juxtaposition of
scum.
Yeah. But they both died. You know, they both died.
Yes.
Like, you know, just happened that the other people survived. One guy got to that last train or coach by being righteous, and the other guy got there by being a scumbag, and they died within a minute of each other. And what was left was, it wasn't so much that they had done something to survive. Unfortunately, with the absolute randomness of life, sometimes the people who walk away from the car crash, whatever situation you want to have, are the people who just do. It's not like a thing that you did.
Yeah,
it's just like in all of the chaos, somebody came out and everyone else didn't, and that is a story as old as time.
Or oftentimes you survived because of actions that other people did, not because of something that you did. Yeah, you know, like
the final thing is where she absolutely mess up her recital is because, in my view, that she wanted to do it for her dad. She wanted to impress her dad,
are you criticizing her recital, dude?
Yeah, earlier on. But then at the end, the sniper has a bead on them.
Yeah.
And she starts singing the song because obviously she felt a little bit emboldened because her dad had just given him up his life for her. Yeah. And that saves both their lives. And I thought that, I mean, if you want to talk poignant, that shit's poignant. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, because the song was for him. That's what she said, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's just, you know, that's beautiful. Like, that's really, really good.
Could you imagine if he just took the two of them out? Contact.
Kill him. Cool.
This one's Charlie. Contact.
I'm going to call you Singy.
and you never actually see how to kill them, right? Like there's never, like, you never know how to kill the zombies. So the whole film, they never say, oh, it's a headshot, or oh, it's this. You don't, because it's all
the standard thing is the brain.
Yeah, because the whole movie is just all about surviving, isn't it? It's like there's like, they probably kill a couple of zombies in there, like when they're fist fighting and shit like that. But like literally, it's always about get to the next carriage, get back on the train, get out here. It's always like, that's what I love about this movie. That it's like it is one almost long chase sequence,
and it's more of like a realistic, like rabies outbreak style thing. You know, that's more realistic than like Walking Dead zombies and stuff like that. Like this, something similar to this, like a virus could actually become like reality. This would be the scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
This would be more realistic.
And if it was to behave and act like a virus, it would try to replicate in the same way and in such an aggressive manner, the way viruses do. And that's why, you know, the zombies in this, if they are all about replicating the virus, that they would behave in a manner like this, because if the virus is aggressive and they keep the same traits as the virus, and it looks to aggressively spread, and once it spreads, it always does, it just like wants to spread more, because they never really like stop and start eating people. They'll bite you and go on to the next person, they bite you, go on to the next person. And so it's kind of like that, where it's all about the spread of the virus. And that's what I liked about this, is like it's a virus, if it does spread aggressively, and the zombies are the living embodiment of the virus, would they not act aggressively? You know what I mean? If they take on the personality of it, if you will, like, you know, that's what I like about it, where it's a different take on zombies, where a lot of the classic zombie is where they just have that need to feed, whereas this, it seems to be, they just have the need to spread the virus as quickly and the most aggressively as possible, like, you know, and because they kind of go dormant, like you see the army dudes when they're coming down off that train station, they were just standing around. You know what I mean? And as soon as one guy saw them, immediately it's like they all saw it. It was like like, you know what I mean? It's like, we got to spread the virus. The virus. You know, and that's what I liked about it. You know,
it kind of reminded me of you ever see The Thing?
Yeah, I love The Thing.
And like the whole
what movie?
Ben,
do you know about this movie?
The mentality of just like spread, but like, I mean, I get in The Thing, they're more like intelligent about how they do it.
Yeah.
But like, for some reason, it was reminding me of that while I was watching it. Cause like, it was like towards the end, you know, it's just all these bodies are like fused together. So like this virus, like you were saying, it just thinks as one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's just my take on it.
That's what kind of what World War Z does as well. It's like the zombies, instead of being the Walking Dead or the Living Dead or whatever, they're just the virus, the embodiment or living personification of the virus, or a virus. And that's how viruses spread. Some of them spread very aggressively, very quickly. And it's kind of like, if they burn through their host, what would the thing they focus on doing would be getting another host. That's what the virus is doing. So you got to bite someone, you got to bite another person, because for all we know, if you leave these zombies dormant, that the virus could burn through them in a matter of days. And if the virus needs to spread, so it's constantly looking for new hosts. That's what I thought was really, really cool, because that's why it was so aggressive. That's why, like, anytime I saw one person, that it was going after everyone, and because they weren't stopping the feed, you never had that respite, because it was constantly just trying to replicate. And like that's why the numbers built up so quickly on the train. It's why the hordes are always fucking massive in as well.
They literally snowballed, which is you know, I know that it's that metaphor that we use, something snowballed, but at one point they actually seemed to snowball. You know,
legitimately, yes.
Yeah, legitimately snowball.
On the train, wasn't it? Like,
absolutely. There was a point where they seemed to be rolling up the carriage.
The train, and when they're like getting back on the train in the train station, and like they're falling out of like that upstairs window onto the train. They're just like pouring out onto each other.
Yeah, no sense of self-preservation. Just like got to spread or got to bite something, got to bite something. You know what I mean? Like, so I fucking loved about it. You know, it's like it was just a wave constantly throughout it. Like, you know, it would build up. Like,
well, and they're not even really like, you don't even know necessarily that they're dead. They just changed. You know, the virus took them over. Like, that's all you know.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome, man. Like, because I love the weaknesses like about them, like the bad eyesight and shit like that. Because that
was good.
Yeah, that was clever. I thought, like, you know what I mean, and using the tunnels, that was what that was really cool. Cool fucking scene. Like, I thought the baggage joke when I was walking through, I was like, or when I was watching that, do you think they'd be big enough for people? Are they that big? like, you know what I mean?
I actually like that weakness better than like World War Z. It's like, okay, if you're sick and dying, then you're safe. Like, you know, and then this one, you're not really safe at all. It just happens to be that you have a better advantage if it's dark.
Yeah.
And they can't see.
No, it's got so quiet.
Have I?
Yeah.
The two of you are actually the two of you are being interesting, and it's just such a fucking phenomenal thing. I'm one of the few fuckers that sets up reminders for fucking Dylan's fucking thing, and I watch him all the time. Just in the case that he might ever be interesting, never happened. So now that it did, I just thought, like, fucking absolutely spectacular. You know,
dude, my show's meant to be just off the wall though. This is it.
Wait, actually, fucking tease everybody. You should 100% check it out. He's a fucking cool dude, a cool fucking guest.
Yeah.
So I was taking the piss out of him because we're mates, but I absolutely
Noel.
All right, like, I mean, I know him.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty sure Dylan doesn't consider you a mate. Like, we talk a lot behind your back, and
I don't care. You guys talk to my face a lot too. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's true.
No, I'm saying we talk behind Noel's back.
That's what friends do. They bring their shit to your face. That's what friends do.
No, you shit in my face again. I swear to God.
You do something. Oh my God, you do something one time.
Yeah, man, you shot out of a window. It was a thing. It was chocolate rain.
All right, I got to shut this shit down because we're hitting the hour mark.
All right.
So before we get out here, I suppose, like, just to generalize a question, where do you think this film ranks amongst other horror films? Which, like, it does. I think it breaks down some barriers as well. I think it's a slightly new horror film. But would you recommend this film to somebody? And in a sentence, how would you sell it?
So I think, first off, there is an understanding for me, and that is that some people can't follow foreign films, like if it's a different language.
We're spoiled.
Whether it's dubbed or not, some people can't do it, and I've seen them. You know, they just get bored or they just don't understand. If you can handle watching something dubbed or reading subtitles, this film is fantastic. Like, I'd watch it again. I could totally, like, recommend it to people, and then be like, no, come over, I'll host it. Well, I'll watch it. I would definitely watch it again. I would say, like, if we're on like a top 10, I mean, there's a lot of them out there, but it would be up in like the top 5, definitely, you know, for sure. I think the fear factor being so realistic in it is what gets me, you know, and there's just so many zombie films, and this one is so, like, it's realistic. It touches, like, on the emotional side of the reality of the situations of all these characters and everything, and that's why I was so intrigued by it.
What about you, Vin? How would you sell it in a sentence or two?
I'd probably have to.
Because I think we all loved it. I mean, we all loved it. But how would you sell it?
I learned Korean. Hey.
No, but I think we're so spoiled. We are so spoiled as native English speakers. 90-something% of my media, like maybe not as much in TV, but like definitely in movies, comes from Dylan's neck of the woods. It just does. It comes from the USA, and that's English, and we are spoiled. And a lot of times we're not adventurous enough.
Yeah.
And this is given to you, and it absolutely is. And this is one of the movies where you watch and went, wow, is there more movies like this?
Yeah,
It does.
Korean entertainment.
The Grudge and the Eye of Japanese horror movies were movies I watched and went, wow, I don't care if there's subtitles. Because I think at a certain point you stop seeing the subtitles. Like it does suck you in enough that you just kind of start observing it and use the subtitles as a means to understand it.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is an excellent example of the fact that as huge as Hollywood it is, and it's definitely the biggest entertainment business, and it will be for a long time, that it isn't the only entertainment business. And this film's a film that I would point to as one of my prime examples of that.
Yeah, I think it's funny that like the clear like influences that American cultures had on Korean culture, that at the moment that they're inspired by American content, but they're kind of making better versions of it in a lot of ways.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I just think like at the moment, and it's even increasing that like Korea are having a real kind of moment. South Korea are having a real moment that they've really learned how to make fast-paced action movies, or they've really learned how to make compelling stories like Squid Game and Parasite. Like they know how to fucking kind of they've taken the influences, I should say, that from America. They've applied it to themselves. They've obviously given it their own cultural take because, you know, like every culture will digest or ingest the content differently, and how they kind of get influenced by it is completely different. Me or you or whatever. They did that and they made an almost, but like this is what I would have loved to see World War Z do, where this had like all the over the top horrors, all the over the top action, but it kept it realistic and relatable in a way World War Z kind of failed to do, because in World War Z he made so many stupid decisions, or so many things just happened. Like it just kind of felt like there was no rhyme or reason to it. And this to me, I think was kind of like to me it felt like a chapter out of the same universe as World War Z, but it felt like a better version of the same idea almost as World War Z, you know.
Yeah.
I do want to throw in there, you know, from being a parent, you know, my 11-year-old son, he loves the idea of zombies and all that stuff, wants to watch this stuff. And if I was to recommend a film for like your preteen or your teenage kid to watch, this doesn't have a ton of gore. It's actually not badly filmed. Like if I would let my 11-year-old watch this with me, of course, but it's written so well, and it's not like just, you know, in American films there's so much gore and a lot of their like horror stuff. For some reason they think that has to be an aspect. It doesn't. And this film would be something I'd let my kid watch.
Yeah, implied gore is oftentimes the best gore, because like just leave it to the imagination. We know what's going on. We know if someone's getting their foot ripped out or getting torn up. We don't need to see it all the time. Like
I think you probably have to see it at some point during, like, let's just say the entirety of the movie.
Oh, it's just not,
because otherwise it's like it's trying to like shy away from it. It's and when it shows you, it's like, we it's not that we're not going to show you. It's just that we don't need it as this huge template. We are actually trying to tell you a story. So I do think that you have to have that moment. Yeah. I also do think that it's fine. You don't need to be like, oh, that guy got his arm pulled off. What if the next guy gets both his legs pulled off?
Yeah, exactly.
And his head pulled off really slowly. What if the next guy gets his eyes? No, of course that's silly.
Because
right?
gore has to be a part of the story. It can't be the story.
Well, of course, especially if it's essentially cannibalization carrying a virus. That's what it is when it's broke down to its core. So I don't think you can shy away from it, but I don't think you need to make it the center point. And I think they did an excellent job.
Like they did a really good balancing act, kind of, wasn't it? Like,
exactly.
Like so. All right, motherfuckers, we get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got off the next stop. Choo choo, train to Busan. Choo choo.
I do need to watch Peninsula.
Yeah, it's like kind of like Army of the Dead, like it's a heist zombie movie. Like the premise is completely different in how the zombies are portrayed in like Army of the Dead, where they're all like, I know, fucking super zombies. But this is kind of like that, where it's about a group of people doing a heist in the Korean Peninsula. That's what it's about. It's cool. Right. It's not as good as Train to Busan, but it's good. It's very different. All right, folks. I'm your host, Into Green.
I'm your host, Aljon Tui, and this film, Train to Busan, was caping it rail.
Boo.
Crickets.
Uh,
Crickets.
You know what? All I wanted was crickets. I wanted the cringe. I
I'm
went for it.
so gonna get cricket sound effects and chuck it in there.
Oh, you know what? Finn, if you don't, you'll break my heart.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
I could.
Thanks, Dill. I'll talk to you in a
This
little
invasion
bit.
pod said, no, you've ruined the extra outro again, you motherfucker.
Sorry for thanking our guest, Finn. My apologies.
Yeah, well, you should be. Apologies. All right, folks. This invasion party snatchers. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel and Vinnie.
And that was Jukebox Ginger. That was Train to Busan. See you next time, motherfuckers. Peace.
Peace.
You fuck no.
Fuck you.
Son of a bitch.
Want some candy?
Yo, she